Which is ridiculous because they don't have money to offer.
Yeah, that's absolutely stupid. So in this case, pray for India. India has all of India, not just Uttar Pradesh, all of them. But, you know, in 4 years they've arrested 1,700, but we don't really have anything on, you know, convictions. So they arrest them. But see, you know, if you follow this type of thing around in the persecution, you know, they can arrest them and throw them in jail and never let them out and never come to trial. We see a lot of that, people just kind of languishing in jail. And let me tell you, in America, what have the Biden administration done? What have the Democrats done with the J6ers? You know, what has Washington, D.C., you know, and the mayor there done with the J6ers?
Yeah.
You know, they let them sit there in jail without charging them. So this is not just something that happens overseas.
Unfortunately, it happens. Shouldn't go on anywhere.
Yep. So we are in, this also comes from International Christian Concern. You can find them at persecution.org. And this is about North Korea and China. Now, you would have to be totally dunce not to know that there is persecution of Christians in China and North Korea. I mean, really.
Totally blinded.
Yeah.
Well, I think some people choose to be blind.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear
I mean, it's nuts. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom recently published its findings on the alarming lack of religious freedom in North Korea and China's role in helping to spur it forward. You know, now the way they wrote that, it makes it sound like the commission in the United States who monitors religious freedom actually believes that, you know, North Korea and China, you mean they're helping to spur the lack of religious freedom? You know, it just doesn't make sense. Because we all know that North Korea and China both are the biggest prosecutors of Christians on the planet.
Right.
The government of China, however, continues to cooperate with the North Korean government to repatriate North Korean refugees in China. In other words, when they leave North Korea and get out of there and go into China, what this says is China goes after the North Koreans and sends them back. And it says, including those who have engaged in religious activities or come in contact with Christian missionaries, despite the risk of torture or other severe punishment upon return. As North Korea shares a larger border with China, many North Koreans flee persecution and travel to China in a desperate attempt to start new lives. It's a calculated risk that many make, hoping to find human kindness from Christian missionaries or others who will help them before authorities catch them. However, for many of these individuals, life remains bleak. Stories of human trafficking and maltreatment of North Korean refugees at the hands of Chinese authorities and organized crime rings are common. In North Korea, religious freedoms are grievously scarce. Now, in the report of the USCIRF, they said that the North Korean government regards Christians as counter-revolutionaries and traitors, which are political crimes who must be eliminated. Possessing a Bible, practicing the faith, and simply being a Christian could lead to severe punishment, including torture, forced labor, imprisonment, and execution. and the North Korean government views refugees who leave the country as traitors. And if they're apprehended, they will face severe punishments. Now, this has been ongoing for a long, 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 long time. And all this does is just confirm things that are already going on. In 2021, Barnabas Aid, another Christian advocacy organization, detailed the human rights abuses endured by North Korean Christians. They documented the torture and abuse of North Koreans in China, which took place before they were deported back to their home country, where they were tortured further and sent to brutal re-education camps for the crime of their Christian faith. The testimonies affirm rumors that the Chinese government cooperates with North Korean authorities to forcibly repatriate those who cross the border. And many of these refugees are women and children who will face serious human rights abuses when they are sent back to North Korea, including rape, torture, human trafficking, arbitrary detention, forced labor, and execution.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible. But even as you say that, that's not adequate.
No.
It's
beyond
it's not adequate at all. And for the life of me, I liken those in North Korea and China that do that as children of the devil.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely damnable that we allow this to go on, but that's the world we live in today. And in case you're wondering, America is getting to the point where they are disdaining Christians and Christianity as well. And so there are some revivals going on in America, but we are sadly lacking. Don't you think, Tower?
Oh, I do. It's terrible. And it's not getting any better.
So I always, when I'm talking about the persecuted church, I'm always including North Korea and China. Always.
Yes.
And, I wish this would stop. But in fact...
I wish it would stop all around the world.
But the fact of it is, it's not going to stop anywhere. They hated me, Jesus said. They will hate you too. The servant is not above his master. That's where we're at. You ready, Tower?
Be sure to get your copy of The Rising, a Christian fiction thriller by the Watchman Dana G. Smith, a story of personal survival, the struggle of a nation, and the love of two people set amidst the prophetic landscape of perilous times. The Rising is a story of deliverance, faith, power, and the inner struggles within, as an evil engulfs all those who face it. Be sure to get your copy of The Rising by going to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Ingram, Walmart, Angus & Robertson, and The Rising ebook can be found on Google Play. And now, back to you, Watchman.
Well, it's up to you.
Oh, wait a minute. I guess it's back to me. So this is Northern Asia to Colorado, Part 2. And Paul's talking again, Paul Durbin. One of the first things Jesus does in Matthew is show up for a meal. There is a reason why he was called a glutton. We felt that opening our home for meals was the best thing we could do. A few weeks after moving to Boulder, they began having friends over for dinner every Friday night. A year later, they had already served approximately 1,500 plates of food. When the COVID-19 pandemic shut down the area in 2020, The Durbans began to host Sunday morning worship in their home. Their small worship gathering evolved and grew into a church group of around 70 to 80 people. To accommodate the growth, they expanded the living room and added a nursery to their downstairs basement. The Durbans also began hosting a Tuesday night gathering for college students, attracting 30 to 40 students each week. The Durbans still have meals in their home, now as a monthly potluck dinner on every first Friday of the month. It remains a key part of their ministry, as half of their families who come do not attend worship at Belay. My secret name for the dinner is our Matthew party, Paul said, referring to Jesus dining at Matthew's house in the Gospel of Matthew. Throughout the years, the Durbans have been faithfully laying the foundation of kingdom work. But being in ministry comes with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. However, each victory and loss is just a cobblestone in the grand path he leads us on. When the Durbans first moved to Boulder, they found it hard to build long-lasting community, especially their youngest son in high school. In December 2022, they began to pray and fast for their children. In the middle of January, Samuel had a conversation with his classmate. The boy in my class, Dylan, turned around and said, "I'm going to start bringing my Bible to school." Samuel asked if he was a Christian, to which he then replied, "I want to be." Samuel invited him to their church, and Dylan went on to invite 2 other classmates. In July of 2023, Paul baptized all 3 in their front yard with their unbelieving parents attending church that day. Now these boys are coming to church early on Sundays to have their own Bible study and have even preached at Belay. There have been over 50 church plants that have tried and failed to root in Boulder, and it has been over 2 decades since there has been an Assemblies of God church in that city. As the Durbans are looking to expand, their biggest need is patience for the long haul and continued fruitful community building. We don't advertise, we just focus on building an authentic community, Paul says. The Durbans may eventually seek a building for their church, but they are leaving that in God's hands. God has trained us to expect miracles. Paul said, we are just going to keep praying and trusting for miracles from Him. That's the end of part 2. Yeah, that's really a good story. I like that.
It is a good story.
I'm glad there's people that are trying to reach the United States of America.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is David Wilkerson's son has had a church in that town.
No, in Boulder. He's in Colorado Springs.
Oh, where were you?
In Boulder. This story is from Boulder,
yeah, you're
Colorado.
Right. Boulder. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. I think that's more on the west side, isn't it? Boulder, closer to Denver and stuff?
That's been a long time since I've been down there.
Colorado Springs is down on the other side.
Yeah. But see, David Wilkerson's son has been down there, and I can't remember the name of their church.
I don't either.
But, you know, he's also does their, involved with their other ministry that David had. But, you know, Colorado Springs is a huge place. And Colorado is big, but Colorado is liberal. So
it's kind of surprising there hasn't been an Assembly of God church there in 20 years.
Yeah.
In Boulder.
Well, you know, a long time ago, Tower and I used to pastor down in Colorado for a short time as youth pastors. At any rate, we are talking about barbarians.